So welcome to the Inspire podcast. Today our guest is Calum Peacock. Welcome, Calum.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Good. Calum is a recruitment consultant for PSR. He has been working in recruitment for just coming up to 4 years.
Yeah.
Calum works a commercial desk, and what we hope to get out of the podcast is to give the highs and lows of recruitment, sort of that start into recruitment and your journey so far. So Calum, just I guess give us a bit of background to yourself, how you stumbled into recruitment, as many people do, and then we can sort of take it from there.
Yeah, so recruitment, as you said, started for me coming up to 4 years ago. I was doing my AS levels and it just wasn't quite right. I wanted to get into the real world, start earning money, and I spoke to my career advisor at the time at the school, saw what apprenticeships were up and running, and he said, well, what about recruitment? So I actually spoke to my mum about recruitment, and she said, well, I deal with 2 agencies, go and have a chat with them, see what recruitment's all about, which I did, and I applied for an apprenticeship, and that's how I got into it. So it was almost falling into it, like you said.
Right. Okay. So this was obviously prior to PSR, I guess.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay. So you went into a recruitment apprenticeship.
Correct.
And that was in what sector?
So that was legal recruitment.
Okay.
So quite a different jump into construction.
Yeah.
Very different people, but yeah, it was a year's course apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And John, who I actually met, the ops director here at PSR before that apprenticeship, he asked me to go and get a year's experience elsewhere, which I did, and then I came back here.
Yeah.
So legal recruitment was very different, different company, only 3 people comes to this PSR, which is 50, very big jump.
Yeah.
But I haven't looked back since, really, with recruitment.
So just to give people a feel for where Calum is at the minute, from going from the apprenticeship to leaving the Midlands office to go to Manchester to PSR's latest office, where Calum's been working in the northwest sector for commercial and is billing circa 300k a year, which in recruitment terms is pretty good. Certainly compared to a lot of consultants that we speak to, that's certainly a great level for Calum to be at a relatively young age. So well done on that, Calum.
Thank you.
In terms of the training, so you obviously went to do your year's apprenticeship, and then you came into PSR. What was the training like
at PSR?
Yeah.
It was intense.
Okay.
It was 5 of us started in the January, all on the same day, and I remember we had hour slots throughout the day, and for the whole week it was a proper plan.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, and we spoke to all the managers and found out what they did, and at the same time we were trying to learn the construction industry, how you actually recruit, and it was so intense. I actually used to go home at night and not be able to sleep because my brain was just frying with information. But yeah, it was good. It was a good 6 months training program.
Yeah.
You did your interview evaluations, your client interview evaluations, which are pretty tough. I remember doing the client evaluation with yourself, which I don't think you went too easy on me. But no, it was a really good training program, and to be fair, I was happy to complete it and start doing it properly. So
a lot of people that come in after 6 months, they can almost makes or breaks them, if you like. Was there any points in that 6 months where you thought, do you know what, this isn't going to happen, this is going to be too tough? Was there any real lows in that period?
Absolutely not.
Right. Okay.
No. So I never really doubted myself, which sounds quite big-headed. Quite big-headed, but at the same time, I knew this was for me. I really enjoyed the environment, and I was up for the challenge. So I kind of thrived in being thrown in the deep end and learning all this about construction recruitment. And I never really looked back, even when the training did get tough. So No, in answer to that question.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that either. I thought you may have had some tough times.
Don't get me wrong, there's been tough times.
Yeah.
But in terms of kind of doubting whether I wanted to stick it out or not, no.
Okay, and was there any? At what point did you go from the training phase through to actually recruiting, doing your first deal? What was the point where you went, I'm good at this, I can do it, I'm going to be successful? What was was there a point when you had that vision?
Was there a point? Not that I can remember where I thought I was good at this, because I am still learning every day, and I do think that you should be getting better every day that you come in still. Obviously, there was probably a point where I did think that I was getting okay at it. After the training had been completed, the probationary period done, and got good feedback from the managers, that was probably the point where I thought, okay, I've done that now, that's the difficult bit, now I can start recruiting and actually start trying to make some money for the company. And I think rejection is vast in recruitment. You get a lot of there's a lot of phone calls, there's a lot of networking, and there's a lot of rejection. How did you handle that from coming from education into employment pretty quickly? What was that like? Not very easy at the start, I have to say. Obviously, school is just so different to a working environment, and most working environments aren't like recruitment. Recruitment's very fast paced, it's very loud in the office, and everything you probably taught not to do at school, being loud in the office and having banter with your mates, and which is why I love it at the same time. But it was a difficult process, because you do get rejection from clients, candidates on a daily basis, and you've got to learn how to get over that and objection handle, and that takes time. But you've just got to learn to move on from rejection and or persist and keep going until you get that success. But you will find a lot of rejection in recruitment. You are never going to avoid it.
So it's resilience, isn't it, really?
That's it,
It's being resilient, persevering. You might have to make 100 calls to speak to one person, but that one person is an opportunity for you to do a deal. And the thing that I always think that people generally don't understand is they see recruitment as transactional, where you are impacting people's lives. It is their careers that you're dealing with. And I think from working with you and knowing you, I think you do take that very seriously, that when you're advising these people, you are consulting. Recruitment consultant, the consultant bit sometimes get missed. You just think it's a deal, it's transactional, where you do take that time to learn. And I think it'd be great for you to just share a bit of an insight into the going back to the training to a certain degree, but how you go about learning about a client. So you're obviously dealing with the Northwest region, new clients to PSR. How in depth do you go in terms of learning about a client? What are you expected to do?
I try and know absolutely everything about that client, especially the commercial team. So PSR will normally ask me to put a presentation together on the client, make sure that I know my stuff, that I can represent the client, and the best thing is just know that client inside and out. So when someone leaves, when someone comes and joins the business, and you can be that first contact for them for recruitment. And just persistence really with clients, because they're so important, and so are candidates. But just learning my clients was the most important thing that I did. Learning what projects they had on board, because then it's a bit of an icebreaker on the phone. So how's the project going down the road or whatever, and just knowing your stuff before you call them. Then you've got a bit more confidence. But really doing as much in-depth kind of digging into the client as you can, and that's from using LinkedIn Professional or going on Glenigan's, looking at the projects that they've got. So there's a lot of research that goes into our clients here. So
so just want to go back to the start of it. So you're 19 years of age. and you're tasked with going and developing the Northwest region for PSR.
Yeah.
You must have been pretty confident in yourself in that first client meeting when you're going out, you're meeting a commercial director. How did you feel during that time? Were you nervous, or did you have that self-belief? And how did it go? Have you got any stories of disastrous meetings to brilliant meetings? Just give us a little bit of an idea of that.
Yeah, well, my first client meeting, I'll always remember. I went with my manager, Ben Parks.
Yeah.
And it did not go well at all.
Okay.
No. Commercial manager of a huge company, Kia.
Yeah.
And I was young, it was my first one. I'd done so much prep, but nothing really prepares you for a real life situation.
Yeah.
Because you never know what you're going to get thrown at you. You're dealing with people, aren't you? And it was really nerve-wracking. I remember my hands were sweating in the client meeting, and I was 18. I had this huge quiff on my head, and I was really nervous. And I think Ben could see that, and I think the client could see that.
Yeah.
2 years down the line, and that client is the best client that I've ever had. She must have seen the nerves, but wanted to give me a chance, and she ended up actually being the best client that I have had here at PSR.
Do you think that your vulnerability, people probably actually saw that and thought, do you know what, you probably asked the right questions during the meeting, and you probably delivered a very good service, and I think that vulnerability sometimes people take to, rather than being, you could have come across very, overconfident. It seems to me like you even though you think the meeting was disastrous in terms of the way you were nervous and you're sweating up, but it's obviously gone well because you're still dealing with that client now. What, 4 or 5 years later?
Exactly. Yeah, it was. I just remember it was such a scary moment because you've done all this training. You've been trained for 6 months. Yeah. So you don't feel like you can ruin this because you've done so much training on it, and you get to it and you get asked a question and you've got absolutely no idea. But it all just comes with repetition. So now I'm very comfortable in client meetings and candidate meetings, and that's from doing it for a few years. But before, it was a nerve-wracking moment because you didn't want to let yourself down or the manager down, but it just shows it turned out to be a very good client of mine. Okay. And in terms of your biggest high so far, so we talked about obviously the meeting that didn't go so well, but what about your biggest high at PSR? That could be a deal, that could be a client meeting, a certain placement. Just give us an idea, what's your biggest high? I'd probably say that my biggest high was being on stage after about 2 years of being at PSR at the conference, being awarded the Rising Star Award. For me, that was just absolutely brilliant. I was up there, so excited that I got this award. I remember straight after actually going out of the conference and calling my mum, because I was only 18, 19 at the time, and just being so overwhelmed that I actually got this award, because I'd worked so hard for 2 years, and getting it from the MD and everyone obviously having a look at you up on stage. As nervous it was, the excitement just took over. I remember that bit of the night, but the rest of it got a bit jaded on the conferences, which they usually do. So, but that was probably my biggest high. It was getting that award, the Rising Star Award, because it's still on my desk now, and I still value the fact that I did get that.
Well, I think it's a prestigious award, isn't it? I think from all the awards that happen at PSR, Rising Star is seen as it's one of the top awards. From the people that are on the board here, the honours board that have won it, have always gone on to be excellent consultants. What's your next goal with that in terms of the awards that that are there? Have you got your eye on one where you're thinking that's my next target?
How many awards are there in total?
I think there's about 6 or 7.
I'd like to get to the 7 mark then.
Right, okay. Show your confidence again,
Yeah, no, I'm only joking. Obviously great to win an award. But I'm not quite sure what the next one is for me.
So you've not got a target for that in terms of...
I haven't really thought about it for awards.
Okay.
Really.
Because I think you've won 2 awards, haven't you? You've won the Living Our Values.
Yeah, correct.
And Rising Star.
Yes.
So you've obviously got the top biller that you can go for, Employee of the Year, special recognition. You've got a few to aim at, and I'm sure you'll be successful with another award.
Yeah, I would absolutely love the top biller one. That's probably the main one, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? It's been dominated. So Calum works within the freelance contracting sector, and the guy that holds that title at the minute is not been knocked off top spot since the awards were created. So
there's a lot to do to get there, isn't there?
There is, but it gives you that target, doesn't it, to go after, and you're ambitious. So that's your biggest achievement, you would say.
Yeah.
How have you had to adapt from that schoolboy through to senior? I think you're senior
consultant.
Consultant. What skills have you brought? How have you developed them? How have you had to adapt to be successful?
I think the main quality of being a good consultant is, I'd probably say, hard work and being personable. Yeah. And from an adapting point of view, is just getting on with everybody. Yeah. Because you'll find in recruitment there's so many characters, and a lot of people are very different. There's a lot of people in recruitment that you're almost competing against to get up the leaderboard. Yeah. So it's just adapting and just getting on with people, but at the same time, I would probably say my biggest problem is I came from school and I was a bit naive. It was probably quite easy to maybe take advantage for some of the other people in the office, and it was overcoming that and understanding to stand my ground and just being a bit more hungry for it, like the top billers are, and that's how they've got to that point. Obviously from hard work, their network, but they're hungry, aren't they? They're hungry for success, they're hungry to get everything, and it's just adapting to get that mentality, which a lot of people just aren't born with, and I personally wasn't born with it. So you really, in recruitment, you have to adapt to that mentality.
So you've learned certain behaviours by observation.
Observing the top billers, my manager, and just trying to take on those qualities and take them on board, but still kind of staying true to yourself at the same time. So it's a tricky process, especially when you come into recruitment so young. It is a tricky process to almost stay true to yourself but still change a little bit to make yourself a good recruiter.
Yeah, and I think you're always learning, aren't you? You're well read. You listen to podcasts. You're always looking to improve yourself. Yeah. Obviously, the recruitment trainer that we bring in here, you're always hungry for more education, for more training, and I think that's a testament to you that you're successful, but you also understand that you need to learn and adapt, being the word, to new scenarios and learn new things. So that's worked well for you, that you've got that approach.
Definitely.
Could you give us an overview of what a day looks like in your world, or a week, maybe easier, just to give somebody that may be looking at recruitment as a career, just to give them an idea for, because I'm sure if you ask people on the street, they'll think it's sitting behind a desk, 5 days a week, 8 till 6, whatever those hours are.
Yeah,
just
pushing CVs.
Yeah, give us an idea of what a typical week in the life of Calum would look like. Yeah,
well, it's always different because you manage your own time. So you might have the biggest client meeting of your life that week, or you might have more of a get your paperwork done week and get your calls up. So I think it's all about balance, and that's what I try and do every week is set up a week plan on a Monday of what I need to achieve, what candidates are available, what vacancies I've got, and Obviously, it's stats orientated as well.
Okay.
So you've got to balance it. And for example, for my week, I've got to hit a certain amount of calls, a certain amount of client visits and candidate interviews.
Okay.
So I need to make sure every week that I do that to stay on top of the stats.
When you say candidate interviews, is that candidates interviewing with a client, or is that actually you interviewing a candidate?
So it's actually myself going to a coffee shop or wherever in our offices to actually interview a candidate.
Okay.
And then the client ones are actually going to the site or the head office and actually meeting them. And of course that takes time out of your day where you're not making calls, so you've got to get that balance right. But a lot of the time I'll spend at least 1-2 days out of the office seeing candidates and clients, because it's so important to get that face-to-face. I believe anyway, get to that face-to-face feel for someone, but also maintain that you get those calls done. So I'd say weekly basis is a lot of time on the phone, a lot of time on the road, and seeing candidates and clients. But it changes from week to week.
Of course. So I mean, that's great that you're out interviewing candidates, and I think that gives a really good insight into it's not all on the phone at a desk. It's important because part of your skill set really is to match a candidate's not only educational background, project experience, but the cultural fit within your clients. And if you've done your due diligence with your client, you're going to have a better chance of matching the two, which is the whole point of a recruitment consultant, isn't it? By having the ability to do that. Is that something that you learned quickly to do in terms of that matching, or was it has it been learned? Have your fill rates improved? How do you go about that?
Definitely the fill rates improved over time. It's so important to have the right characteristics between the two, candidate and client. On a CV, you can look at a CV and they can be absolutely perfect for the client, and you think it's an absolute no-brainer. They're going to get the job. It's a done deal. Won't even look at it anymore. And they'll go there and there'll be a bit of a clash, whatever it might be. And it is so important to make sure that personalities do line up. And that's why it's so important to see your candidates and your clients.
Of course.
Definitely, rather than just sitting behind the computer and look at CVs.
So you, I think people are going to see that you're a confident individual. What's your career aspirations now? Having been in recruitment, you know, as we've spoke about coming out of school straight into recruitment. Do you see yourself long term in recruitment? And if not, what do you see yourself doing, and how do you see your career in 10, 20 years time? Where do you want to be? Have you got those sort of long-term goals?
I've got a 10-year plan, which the business do know about, because I put it to them when I joined, which is really good actually, and it's really helped me in the long run, because now they're aligned to where I want to be every couple of years. So that's been really important. So in answer to your question, 4 years in to recruitment at PSR, I've got a 10-year plan. I'm on track at senior. And of course I personally want to go into the management side. And work my way up all the way to director. That's the plan anyway. Obviously Manchester, moving there next month. And it would be, it's really exciting, and I'd love to move up to a management position in the next couple of years there in Manchester and go beyond, really.
But so do you mind sharing? I think it'd be great to give an idea of a 10-year plan. At what age were you when you put your 10-year plan in place?
18.
So it's impressive. At 18 years of age, you put a 10-year plan in place. What inspired you to do that? And if you don't have to share it, but what's 10 years?
What's in 10 years?
Where are you at 10 years? What's that end goal?
The end goal is to be a director of the business. And preferably the managing director. That would be nice. But I suppose you never know, do you? But as high up as I can get, really, within PSR, that's the plan.
Which is great to have that target. So at 18, how are you writing a 10-year plan? Who's giving you this inspiration?
Luckily, have my mum.
Okay. Yeah.
Which she's very well. She's done really well in life, and she's done really well in business.
Yeah.
And she's been a huge inspiration to myself, and we've sat down many evenings putting a plan together 4 years ago, and still doing it now.
Yeah.
She's definitely a role model for me, and she's given me good guidance of how to really be professional within an environment and move up in businesses as she's done previously.
Yeah. Okay.
So luckily I've had that back full of someone that knows what they're talking about, and been lucky really.
Well, that's great to have that role model. Is clearly has guided you really well. With putting that in place. I mean, the person didn't know that you had that tenure, so that's news to me, and I know you very well, and I probably wouldn't expect anything less from you. So I think that's really interesting. How much time do you spend now on your learning and development?
Learning and development, I think I have a training session with Tracy, who we outsource probably every two months.
Right. Okay.
And she does almost back to basics and a bit more advanced sometimes. But different workshops on not picking up the bad habits, which is easy to do, and not cutting corners, and obviously always learning on the job. But actually, we spend a day in training rooms with Tracy, and she gives us good information on how to recruit properly, and then we put it into practice on the phones for an hour, and she sits there listening into your calls and making sure they're top notch and what she's just told you to do, which is really quite daunting, because someone listening to you into your calls really puts you under pressure, and you're not used to being under pressure. So no, we spend a lot of time every 2 months really going through learning, developing.
Outside of PSR, what PSR provide for you, how much do you do in terms of other aspects? You talked about management is something you want to go into. Are there other bits of L&D that you do personally outside of PSR, or are you just enjoying your life at the minute?
I'm just enjoying my life.
Good honesty, and I think you've worked very, very hard. You've had some great rewards. You've got a nice car that you drive, and you're doing great for your age, aren't you? Without at all sounding patronising with that, you would do really well for your age. I think what would be interesting is to look at where you are now. If you to drop back and to be speaking with your 16-year-old self, what advice would you give a 16-year-old there at school, perhaps doesn't really know what the career that they want to go into? What advice would you give them?
I'd probably say outside of work would be to save. I suppose it's got something to do with work, but to save as much money as you can, because you will need it. I wish I was saving that kind of 2 years after being 16 and getting into recruitment. You've got disposable income, haven't you? You're living with your parents, you're going straight into work, and I could have saved a lot more than I did. But at the same time, you've got to enjoy life, so you've got to find that balance. But I would say save. In regards to going into career, not trying to potentially get everything all at once, and just sometimes slowing yourself down and saying, okay, this is where you're at, focus on this, and just not trying to jump into everything all the time, and just taking it stride by stride, and doing things to a good quality,
one step at a time, in terms of just not, and I think you're right there in terms of not wanting everything straight away, because you can be ambitious, but you can also take your time and learn and develop at a certain speed, can't you?
Well, I personally went into recruitment thinking I'm going to earn so much money so quickly, and you've got to work very hard for it, and you've got to work with the best candidates and the best clients in the market. It's just slowing yourself down sometimes, and not trying to get everything all at once.
Yeah, and I think
Probably.
that's it. Well, it takes time to build your reputation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And your credibility. It doesn't come overnight, and it's going to take time to do that. A couple of quick tips.
Yeah.
In terms of youngsters maybe looking for a career in whatever career out there.
Yeah.
You obviously dress well. Are there any tips in terms of how you present yourself, how you presented yourself at interview, maybe some preparation work that you did that you could that you could share?
Yeah, well, you've probably all heard that preparation is absolutely key, and I speak to all of my candidates now and make sure they're prepared, they've done their research on the client, and they're well presented in themselves, and they just know their clients inside and out. So whether you're going for a job or whatever you're doing, as long as you know that client inside out and you start telling them what they've been doing, they'll be really impressed, and they'll show that you've got that drive and work ethic if you've already looked into the business. So preparation is absolutely key for everything, whether it's small, it's a candidate interview, still prepare, or it's going to a meeting to try and get a £100 million client on board, whatever it is, prepare as much as you can.
Okay, that's a great tip. So Callum, thanks a lot for that insight. Is there anything you would want to share? Any other stories to look back on that you think would be worthwhile sharing with the audience?
Well, I've got a quite embarrassing story.
Okay, go on.
So I was starting out. I was probably year 1, year 2 of PSR recruitment. And myself and my colleague, we were meeting a candidate in Costa, which is what we do quite a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Had his CV, was all ready to meet him, and he walked through the door, spoke to him on the phone, what can I get to drink first? And walked through the door, shook his hand, gave him the drink, we sat down, we had a nice informal chat first. Obviously got my questions out, had his CV, and we probably sat there for 5-10 minutes, and I was asking him questions, and it was all going really well. And then he looked at me and said, whose CV's that? I said, well, it's yours. I said, well, that's not my name.
Right.
So I said, well, I'm really confused. Well, who are you? And I'd just been sat there for 5-10 minutes interviewing a complete stranger who was there to see somebody else, I presume in maybe a recruitment role or something like that.
Okay.
And it was just so embarrassing. And he'd already started drinking the drink. So what do? Do you take the drink? Do you say, oh, you can keep that, get another one?
Can you move?
And it never happened to me. And
I don't think it's happened to many people, has it?
No, I can't imagine it has. It was a really quite embarrassing. Looking back on it, very funny.
Yeah. So where was the guy that you were meant to be meeting?
Conveniently, he was running 5-10 minutes late.
Okay.
So, I managed to salvage that and get him in and told him about the situation. And it was a bit of an icebreaker, actually.
Yeah,
but it worked well.
Imagine.
But that throws you off completely, and then you can't stop thinking about it throughout the interview. And my colleague Chris, I could see him laughing in the background, but luckily we had a really good interview, ended up placing that candidate, not the one previously that we interviewed.
And he got a free Costa. So win-win. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's been a lot of stories that have happened at PSR, some I can't mention on air.
Yeah, of course.
I'm only joking. But it's a great company to work for. There's been lots of highs, lots of lows, and now I'm looking forward to the rest of them, really.
Absolutely. And the future is there for you in terms of Manchester. I believe that I think there's going to be some marketing going out with yourself and looking at the Manchester region, so we'll put some links to that in terms of the show notes, I'm sure, as those videos go out. But Callum, I think it's been the whole point of the podcast is to inspire people. I genuinely believe that anyone listening to this, that at any stage of their life, in terms of how they should prepare for things and what you can achieve with a plan, and to have that plan at your age and the trajectory that you're on, you're on track to smash that plan. You had obviously a fantastic role model. You've shared some great insights into the highs and lows of recruitment. and really we could be looking at, as you say, the future MD of PSR Solutions here, and we'll look back on this podcast and go, there you go, you've met your 10-year goal. And kind of appreciate your time sharing your stories with us, and I'm sure you will have inspired lots of people to achieve greatness.
Thank you for having me on. Thanks, Dave.
All the best. Cheers.